Welcome back to the Post Route. I'm Erin. Let's talk Week 5 college football. First up on the docket, we have number 4 LSU versus number 13 Ole Miss. Both these teams are on a 4-game winning streak, and this week LSU travels down to Oxford to take on Ole Miss at home. This could be the year for Brian Kelly. He got the monkey off his back of that home opener. He's starting to look like he's got a national championship caliber team. Lane Kiffin, if he has anything to say about it, will be walking out of this weekend 5-0 and not 4-1. Lane Kiffin he's a rarity. He's a super adaptive coach. And that actually is a direct quote from a ton of other coaches, including Brian Kelly and Nick Saban. He is a type of coach that can adjust his game plan on the fly. When something is not working, he is able to shift gears and find creative solutions to problems with his team. That is a rarity for some coaches. They don't always have that ability to pivot, which is why Lane Kiffin and the Rebels have been so successful. LSU's defense is tough. Ole Miss has not faced anything close to this so far this season. LSU is working with a top 20 ranked defense. They put a lot of money into this, a lot of NIL, a lot of time in recruiting, a lot of time in the portal. They worked their behinds off to add talent and depth and versatility to this defense and make them competitive. Brian Kelly saw that this was a hole in their team last year, and he worked his behind off with the rest of his coaching staff to fill that void. And they have done an excellent job bringing in some new talent, but making sure the talent that they had remains. While LSU has a top 20 ranked defense, they are considerably better against the run than they are against the pass, which, depending on which quarterback he has to start this week, might not work out that great for Lane Kiffin. Austin Simmons got hurt 2 weeks ago, and Trinidad Chambliss has been replacing him in the starting lineup for the last 2 games against Arkansas and Tulane. Lane Kiffin has gone on the record to say that if 100% healthy, Austin Simmons is his starter. We just don't know if he's 100% healthy. Trinidad Chambliss is a mobile quarterback. That's not to say that he can't throw. In his 2 starts with Ole Miss, he has thrown for over 700 yards, 6 touchdowns, and he's rushed for almost 200. In the depth chart of running backs, he's running back 2. It will be if he is their starting quarterback, it will be crucial for LSU to shut him down in the run game and force him to throw. Now, he can throw. I'm not suggesting that he can't, but that limits his abilities and shuts down a threat from the Ole Miss offensive side of the ball. Gives LSU a better fighting chance if they're not worried about this kid running on them for over 150 yards. Garrett Nussmeier, on the other hand, the quarterback for LSU, not a runner. Not a runner. And that's fine. Much like our friend Baron Morton, who we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and Carson Beck, he doesn't have to be. They've invested significantly in his offensive line to give him time to throw because they know that running and scrambling and moving is not a strength in his game. And while Garrett Nussmeier is not a physically imposing quarterback, he makes up for that in his athleticism, his awareness of his surroundings in and out of the pocket when he has to be there. And he is a great, what we refer to as an out of structure quarterback, meaning when it doesn't go the way it's supposed to go, he is capable of making good decisions to find his receivers or make changes to the play. Not every quarterback has that. Not every football player has that. He has gotten significantly better with his decision-making processes, specifically finding receivers in the red zone from last year to this year. It is a notable difference that he has put in some time in the offseason to make this a much better offense for LSU. The Rebels' defense is allowing only 166 yards per game. They're in pretty physically imposing defense. LSU is going to have to spread the ball around quite a bit, and that shouldn't be too difficult. They do have some significant offensive threats in Cade Durham, their running back, Aaron Anderson, and Barryon Brown, their 2 wide receivers right now, all of which are over 200 yards, either receiving or rushing. They're really doing the most with these 3 guys. If Chambliss starts and LSU is capable of shutting down his run game, he will need to throw. He will need to hand off. And he has some weapons of his own. Kwan Lacey, the star running back for the Rebels, is rushed for over 350 yards so far this season. This kid is an absolute specimen at the running back position. He is killing it for them. Deuce Alexander and Daquan Wright, running back and tight end duo that are receiving over 200 yards right now. They are deep threats as well for the Rebels. They find a way to get open. They do catch a ton of balls. They get a ton of targets. So if Chambliss is forced to throw, or let's say Austin Simmons comes back and he is forced to throw, they have options. Ole Miss has not faced a defense like this, like what they're about to face in LSU this week. Period. They just haven't. And that's not to say that I don't think that they are not good. I just think that they have not been tested by a defense with the strengths that LSU has. Right now, the line sits at 2.5 in favor of Ole Miss. The over-under is about 55.5. Now, if you've been following social media in any way, shape, or form, Lane Kiffin has told the world, take the over, in an Instagram comment on his daughter's hard launch of her relationship with a linebacker from LSU. So I do think this game is going to go over 55.5 points. I think it's going to be an absolute shootout for both these teams. This is going to be an electric game in Oxford. That being said, we're calling this game for LSU. I just think Brian Kelly has finally got that opening game monkey off his back. He is feeling great. Garrett Nussmeier looks great. They have made strides to make this a complete football team, and they look pretty darn good right now. Welcome back to the Post Route. Continuing on with Week 5 college football, let's talk number 3, Penn State versus number 6, Oregon. The Ducks are going to travel their way to the Keystone State and Happy Valley to take on Penn State at home in Beaver Stadium. This is a rematch of last year's Big Ten championship, where Oregon did come out on top. Both these teams are coming into this matchup looking pretty darn good. Penn State is 3-0. Oregon is 4-0. Quarterbacks look pretty good, although Dante Moore does look a little bit better and more polished than Drew Aller. The run game looks out of this world for both these teams. Both defenses are humming. This is going to be a just downright physical 4 quarters of pounded out, grinding, gritty football. This feels like the year that Penn State has to get over this hump. And I say that clearly as a huge Penn State fan. Although I'm not biased to think that they're, the best team in the world. I do think there are places that they can improve, but I do think that this is probably one of the better teams that they've had in recent memory, and that they are definitely trending in the right direction. They've made some moves in the portal over the summer, picked up some new guys, picked up some new offensive threats, which I think is really great for them. There will be 2 big X factors in this game. One of those X factors is going to be Drew Aller's accuracy. He has struggled in this area, to say the least. They're a run-heavy team, but so is Oregon. Oregon is a little bit more, let's call it balanced, than Penn State is as far as the way that they're mixing up the offensive sides of the ball. But Penn State has always been a run-heavy school. Penn State will need to match the Ducks play for play to remain competitive in this matchup. Drew Aller needs to find his accuracy. He just has to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's going to need to remain calm And his receivers have to find a way to get open. They just have to. As I said previously, Oregon is also a run-heavy offense. This will be a ground game and a battle for the line of scrimmage. And Hill Jr. are going to be huge threats for the Oregon Ducks. They are running machines. They are able to create lanes, find holes, and move their way through this jumble of offensive lines. And they're going to be tough. They're going to be a tough running back duo to get a handle on for the Nittany Lions. The Nittany Lions, however, have their own duo that are pretty hard to tame in Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. Both of them are returning from last season. They both were questionable to go into the draft. They ended up coming back for their senior years, and they're a great pair of running backs for the Nittany Lions. Dan Lanning will be ready for that, though. Dan Lanning is a smart guy. He will be ready for this run game. He knows that this is the strength of the Nittany Lion offense and Penn State's key to winning. He will do whatever it takes to shut that down. He is an intelligent guy. He has planned for this scenario. Even more reason that Drew Waller is going to need to be able to find his accuracy and throw the ball. Both these defenses are pretty similar. I think Penn State is ranked 10th overall in defenses. Oregon is ranked 12th overall. They flip-flop when it comes to the pass, with Penn State being 12th ranked and Oregon being 10th ranked. Both of them are within the top 40 for rush defenses, so they do match up pretty well. Offense is really what is going to set these two apart, and that is going to be Dante Moore head-to-head versus Drew Aller. Which one is going to be able to keep their calm and get balls downfield? Penn State does have the home field advantage here. And for those of you who might be unaware of this little tidbit, this is one of the most hostile environments in all of college football. And I don't say that just because I am a fan of the Nittany Lions. This is several other Big Ten teams as well as SEC teams that have played Penn State have all said this. A whiteout in Beaver Stadium is one of the worst things for a team coming into Happy Valley. Having been a part of several whiteouts myself, I can confirm it is an absolutely insane setting for a college football game. This will be one of the most daunting stadiums that Dante Moore has ever played in. So if he can keep his composure, this will be an excellent game. Oregon will need to limit the explosive plays from the run game. Like I said, neither one of these teams is boasting a huge rush defense. Penn State is ranked a little bit higher, closer to 30. I think they're 33 if you're looking at the NCAA rankings. And Oregon is ranked at 40. So they're not big at stopping the run. If they can limit the amount of explosive plays that the Nittany Lions have, Oregon has a heck of a chance here. Offensively, Penn State struggles in the red zone. They settle for a lot of field goals when they should be getting touchdowns. And that type of football is not going to win you this game. When you get into the red zone, you have to convert. You have to get 7 points on the board. No exceptions, especially playing this tough of an Oregon Ducks team. At the beginning of this season, I believe the spread on this game was 6.5 points in favor of Penn State. It has dwindled. I believe now it is at 4.5 points to Penn State. It is going to be tight. It truly is. All of these games this weekend are going to be, they're going to be won in the trenches, if I'm being completely honest with you. These guys are going to have to really, really grind it out to win these football games in all of the matchups this weekend, not just this one. The Ducks do have a tendency on the offensive side of the ball when passing to be a little bit more explosive. Dante Moore just seems more confident in his abilities and his throwing and finding receivers downfield. So if Penn State can limit that, which they do have a top 12 pass defense, shouldn't be a problem. But we got to make sure everybody shows up. Now, I said I'm not biased, and I'm not. I will point out weaknesses in the Nittany Lion offense and defense all day long. Do I think that James Franklin tends to wither in the light that is succeeding in the college football playoffs and championships? Absolutely, I do. He tends to shrink right up when the light shines on him. But I will ride or die with Penn State. We will be calling this for the Nittany Lions. And that might be a little delusional, some of you might think. But what diehard fan is not delusional? We're taking Penn State to win this sucker outright in the hostile environment that is a whiteout in Beaver Stadium. Start off with 17th ranked Alabama versus 5th ranked Georgia. For those of you unfamiliar with the SEC, this is a big rivalry game for both of these teams. They started playing each other back in 1895. It's been a huge rivalry since the 40s, with Alabama typically dominating several times over. Now, that's not to say that Georgia's not good and that Georgia hasn't won their fair share of these games. It just typically always ends up with Alabama on top. This year could be different. Georgia is coming off a bye week after squeaking out a win over Tennessee in what has probably been the best college football game of the first 5 weeks of college football, if I'm being completely honest with you. Alabama is also coming off of a bye week. And after their devastating loss week 1, they need a bounce back win, and they need it bad. Now, both these defenses are pretty good. That being said, Alabama is definitely a better pass defense than they are a rush defense. And vice versa for Georgia. They tend to be a better rush defense than they are a pass defense. Alabama's opponents have been held to just 108 yards of passing per game, while Georgia is only allowing about 82 yards per game on the run. So both of these defenses have much different strengths, but both are still very good. Where Alabama's offense has, I don't even want to say struggled because that seems like too harsh of a word, but where they maybe have some shortcomings is their run game. They have a core of really great running backs that are chipping away at teams for short little runs here and there. They've maybe gotten loose for 1 or 2 rushes over 20 yards, but nothing explosive. They just don't have a crazy explosive ground game. They do have a great core of receivers, though, and that is what Ty Simpson is relying on pretty significantly. Georgia is very similar in that respect, that they have a lot more depth at the running back position, but they tend to rely on their receivers a little bit more. Between Branch, Young, Humphreys, they have a really good group of a couple of guys that are carrying the bulk of their offense. In the depth chart of running backs, Gunnar Stockton is number 3. He is a mobile quarterback. He is a mover, which is going to pose a problem for this Alabama defense. If they are able to contain Gunnar Stockton and his ability to extend drives and move down the field, get first downs, move down the field, rush in for touchdowns, they have a fighting chance here. That will be one of the biggest pieces, though, is containing Gunnar Stockton. Ty Simpson is not a mobile quarterback. Ty Simpson relies a lot on his arm strength and a lot on his ability to read defenses and find open receivers. Both these teams have had a history of exceptional quarterbacks. They get a lot of 5-star recruits. They get a lot of really great talent at both of these schools. And that is no exception with Ty Simpson for Alabama and Gunnar Stockton for Georgia. Ty Simpson took a lot of scrutiny and criticism after that week 1 loss. He completed only about half of his passes in that game, and there was a big question about whether or not he could perform under the pressure of these big games. Ty Simpson is very talented. He has great arm strength. He also complements the offense that Kalen DeBoer has brought into Alabama very well. He has improved since week 1, but this will be his first big pressure situation since then. Gunnar Stockton, on the other hand, he is an athletic quarterback. You can tell by the way that he moves out of the pocket and the way that he is capable of taking off in a run. He seems to be a leader for this team. The kind of guy that just fires up an offense, which I don't want to say that they were lacking under Carson Beck, because I don't think that they were, but I think he brings just a little bit more maybe oomph to the locker room as a leader of this offense. He played very well against Tennessee at Neyland in what was his biggest stage yet, specifically in the second half of that game. So I don't feel like there are a ton of pressure concerns for Gunnar Stockton. I think he handles himself very well. He doesn't seem to be having a ton of issue with staying mobile, doing what he's supposed to be doing, and going through his progressions. He seems very cool, calm, and collected in these high pressure situations. There has been a lot of skepticism about his arm strength, not being able to make those deep throws, not being able to, throw those bombs downfield. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if he can't do those things or if that's just not in Kirby Smart's game plan. So I don't know that that's going to be a huge issue. I personally think that Gunnar Stockton is a little underestimated in this league. I think he is one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC, if not in the top 2 or 3. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's a great fit for this offense. I think he's a great fit for this team. And I think he stepped right into this role the second that they had this vacancy to kind of pick up where Carson Beck left off. The big X factors here for Alabama is going to be red zone efficiency and quarterback efficiency. Can Ty Simpson remain efficient under this pressure in a way that he didn't week 1? Can they convert in the red zone? The pass game for Alabama will be crucial. They will need to exploit these holes in the Georgia secondary. They were completely carved up by Tennessee in this game. Tennessee kept this way closer than anybody thought that they were going to with Georgia, and that is specifically because of their pass game. If Alabama is able to exploit those holes in that defense, they will be able to get guys downfield. They will be able to find deep threats, and Ty Simpson's arm strength is a testament to the fact that he can get the ball down there pretty darn far. Georgia is working with home field advantage, which in the SEC carries a lot of weight. They have a strong run defense that is potentially going to shut down any of these running backs that Alabama has. And Stockton has already seen pressure like this, so I don't see him folding under the weight of this game. Georgia is favored by 3. The over-under is 52.5. I am taking the over in this game. This is going to be an absolute shootout. I'm sure of it. And this could go either way. This is a complete toss-up for me. The only thing that is leaning me one way more than another is the fact that Georgia is at home. You can't underestimate the home field advantage in the SEC. You just can't do it. These environments are hostile. So we will be taking Georgia to win at home. And God bless, this is going to be a phenomenal game. Make sure you're checking back with us every week for the post route as well as weekend recaps and some small tidbits of information between college football and the NFL. If you like what you see here, head over to YouTube. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons and follow along for the rest of the season. That's the route. Catch you next time.